It is the great noon, when man stands at the midpoint of his course between beast and Superman, and celebrates his way to the evening as his highest hope, for it is the way to a new morning. The walls of the labyrinth are close and oppressive. Cold sweat runs down your back. Right, left, right again. The air is dark and humid, thick with the stench of death. Blindly, you follow the golden thread between your fingers. Blindly, you follow the glimmer of your desire. It draws you further into the darkness. In the belly of the labyrinth, something is stirring. Your fear is bitter in your mouth. Then there is a thunderous bellow as the beast charges you. Hot breath on your skin and the crunch of bones under you as you trample back and forth. You hold tight to the Minotaur's horns as it presses down on you. Never before have you tested yourself against such a violent, primal force. You are sure that you will be overcome, overwhelmed, devoured. Then you feel hot blood running down your forearms and washing over your heaving chest, and the metallic taste of victory fills your nostrils. You stand triumphant over the fallen beast, and feel its energy filling you, pooling in your belly, rushing through your limbs, and you feel so light that you think you could fly. In the last video on Hercules, we discussed the untapped power of the instincts. In this video, we will discuss how to reclaim and discipline these instincts. When Theseus and Zarathustra descend into the underworld and stop to rest, the rocks begin to grow around them, and they become stuck to the earth. But Hercules, descending into Hades to complete his final labor, frees them. You too are paralyzed and stuck to the rocks, and it is your instincts which will save you. Your instincts were given to you by nature to guide you triumphantly through life. Your instincts have evolved to help you succeed. Because of your instincts, there is an innate intelligence in your body, an intelligence which has been honed and perfected over millions of years of evolution. Within you, the spirit of life guides you. She whispers to you softly with the voice of beauty. She calls you to conquer, to grow, to surpass all things thus far created by her will. But we no longer live the nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to which our instincts are adapted. We now live in the maze-like streets of cities and the endless sprawl of suburbs. After life in the jungles, forests, and open plains, life in the city is a confined, oppressive existence. The very structure of the city prevents us from expressing our instincts. Our drives to explore, to expand, to conquer, and to own space all must be repressed as we conform to the physical and social confines of agricultural and industrial life. Only the ruling castes retain their relative freedom, as the majority must devote their hours to labor. Those who will not conform to this oppressive lifestyle either become civilization-renewing heroes, like Hercules, Alexander, and Caesar, or their spirit is broken and they become criminals and misfits, beasts who have grown to distrust their own instinct and view their own nature as evil. This frustration of the natural instincts has only been worsened by our entrance into the labyrinth of the digital. The internet is a global web which serves to connect us, but this web is also filled with spiders, quivering at the thought of unsuspecting prey becoming entrapped in their shimmering web. With the invention of smartphones, the most sinister of the priestly types have gained direct access to our psyche. These life-haters, who seek to use our instincts to manipulate us and profit off of us, have never had an easier time at deceiving and ensnaring their prey. The instincts which once guided us have now become a source of suffering, either because we are unable to express them, or because they are manipulated and turned against us. In the first societies, the uncontrollable and violent nature of the instincts was a threat to civilization and the social order. But after thousands of years of repression and socialization, first in agricultural society, then industrial society, and now in the landscape of the digital, we have the opposite problem. We are over-socialized and repressed. We have become distrustful of our instincts, which are incompatible with our modern environment, both physically and socially. Our consciousness has been forced to become a labyrinth of hidden desires and wants, mirroring the maze-like streets of our cities, and in the catacombs of our unconscious, beneath the veil of civilization, is our shadow, which we have cast out of the light of consciousness, a minotaur of primal desire and passion. And so our instincts, which were once nature's angels, have become civilization's demons. The ultimate end of the repression and demonization of the instincts can be seen in the ascetic ideal of priests. The ascetic seeks to uproot his instincts and free himself from desire. Since he cannot reconcile his moral character with the ferocity and amorality of his instincts, he views them as demons, and his desires manifest as resentment. Thus, his will to life is expressed as a pathological, sterile desire for tyrannical control over himself and the world, which are the sources of his suffering. Nietzsche writes, "The ascetic ideal arises out of the instinct for protection and salvation in a degenerating life, which seeks to keep itself going by any means and struggles for existence. It indicates a partial physiological inhibition and exhaustion, against which those deepest instincts for living continually fight on with new methods and innovations. The ascetic ideal serves to protect a weak organism. It serves to rationalize life and make it bearable for those who are forced to live in unbearably restrictive conditions. It is life's final attempt at preserving herself in an organism whose will prefers its own destruction over the pain of life. The priestly ideal is simply the will to power expressed in a sickly and declining life form. Yet this ascetic ideal, more often than not, fails at preserving life because its adherents do not reproduce. Life in this state begins to calcify, like Theseus and Zarathustra stuck to the rocks of Hades. This is the state of exhaustion and sickness which so many of us today are being swallowed by. We sit in front of our televisions, in our office chairs, paralyzed, unable to move forward, unable to break free from the grip of death. Only the Herculean beast of instinct can free us from our deathly slumber. The repression and demonization of the instincts creates what Jung referred to as the shadow, which manifests on both an individual and collective level. The shadow is made up of all the instincts and values which have been deemed evil by a society and subsequently repressed into the unconscious. But the shadow is not evil. In his book, Ion, Carl Jung writes, "If it has been believed hitherto that the human shadow is the source of all evil, it can now be ascertained on closer investigation that the unconscious man, that is, his shadow, does not consist of only morally reprehensible tendencies, but also displays a number of good qualities, such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc. To discover that a primal beast of instinct dwells within the civilized halls of our psyche is a terrifying experience. Yet to shrink from the shadow and label it as evil is only to further repress it and make it more violent and dangerous, for these primal instincts will find a way out. One way or another, nature will have her way. As Nietzsche writes, "You aspire to free heights. Your soul thirsts for the stars, but your wicked instincts, too, thirst for freedom. Your wild dogs want freedom. They bark with joy in their cellar when your spirit plans to open all prisons." The proper way forward is to confront the shadow and embrace it, for our shadow contains what we need most. If we are to become heroes, we must first wrestle with our shadow. The opposite of the ascetic ideal is the heroic ideal. The hero wrestles with life and embraces it fully with all of his being, even in the face of suffering and death. The hero does not suffer from his own instincts. He knows that his passions and desires are the voice of nature calling him to greatness and challenging him to adventure. The hero laughs at the life-negating morality of priests. The hero's virtue does not arise from moralizing and rationalizing life. It arises from the discipline and sharpening of his inborn instincts and desires. The hero's passions are his virtues. In order to ascend to the heights, he must harness the most primal parts of himself and organize the chaos of his passions behind his singular ideal and goal. The life-haters have told you that your nature is evil. They have taught you to be ashamed of your desires and passions, but they are nihilists, and their morality is a rot creeping up the branches of the tree of life. If you follow the golden thread of your desire, it will lead you deep into the labyrinth of your psyche. There you will find your shadow, a violent minotaur of desire and passion which has been locked away in the chambers of your unconscious. By wrestling with this beast, you wrestle with the spirit of life, and by conquering this beast and submitting it to your will, you will regain the Herculean well of instinctual power which has been lost to our collective shadow. Then the spirit of life will flow through you again, and you will be saved from your paralysis. Then your desire will draw you towards the heights, and towards your highest hope. Then man will stand at the great noon, halfway between beast and God, and no shadow will fall at his feet. Then man will be on his way towards the Superman. Once you had passions and called them evil, but now you have only your virtues. They grew out of your passions. You set your highest goal in the heart of those passions. Then they became your virtues and joys. And though you were of the race of the hot-tempered, or of the lustful, or of the fanatical, or the vengeful, in the end, all your passions became virtues, and all your devils, angels. Once you had wild dogs in your cellar, but they changed at last into birds and charming singers.